So first of all, with all of you, I want to give my ongoing thanks to Rabbi Angela and to the entire staff of Central and to this community, which in this unbelievably gorgeous and somewhat ancient sanctuary keeps up with all of the contemporary issues and moves its congregation regularly to do justice. And a special congratulations today to Andrew Mandel. So, this is extraordinary. We're all at meetings of various kinds, your work meetings, your synagogue meetings, other organizations, where somebody says, I have a new idea. And most of us groan because we know that we're not getting enough done with the ideas we already have. And we can't imagine a new idea coming along. And we can imagine that if a new idea comes along, we're all going to be pulled in 37 new directions, and it's not going to work. So that was probably a little bit of my response to Andrew the first time he talked about this. But I shut up quickly. First of all, because he was clear, visionary, and organized. And second of all, because his idea, as you all know, was entirely immersed in justice, which is critical to me. Now, he's not perfect. I want to be clear about that. He asked me if I would be here tonight. He asked me if I would introduce my friend Sheila. And then when he sent me instructions, he said, about 300 words. So I don't know what 300 words is, Andrew, so I'll probably throw your program a little out of whack. But I want to say another word about this idea of justice. You all know the command, tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. I want to make two comments about that are important to me. One is this particular English translation, but the idea of the word pursue. Because we are all, even the best of us, too focused on, did we get there, wherever the there is? Did we accomplish that? Is it done? And the idea here is that the pursuit of justice is itself the reward. That what you do to keep trying to make change in the world has to be satisfying, has to give each of us that sense of agency, because of the fact of the matter is we're not likely on many counts to get there, wherever there is, but we are likely to have made an extraordinary difference for people. One other comment, some of the rabbis asked, why does it say tzedek, tzedek twice? Why doesn't it just say pursue justice? And one of the rabbis' explanations is, it's to remind you that you are not only pursuing a just end, but you must pursue it justly. So both the means and the end must reflect justice. And I think that has a lot to do with what Andrew is asking us all to do, which you'll hear more about tonight. But a tzedek box is not, with all due respect to everybody, it is not a New Year's resolution, because a New Year's resolution occupies about 37 seconds in our year. Oh, I think next year I will. And then either I did or I didn't. But that's not what this is about. This is about the thoughtful and just pursuit of some goals that we realize would bring the world to a greater degree of justice. And so before I go on to talk about Sheila, I would just say to each of you, as the last poem, the Jack Reamer poem indicated, we know what the problems are. I'm mostly associated in some of your minds with global injustice, but I'm working now on several fronts, again, as I did previously in my lifetime, with injustice in New York City. And I'm going to spare you any list of where the problems are, because the issue is not to retreat to the convenience of being overwhelmed. Sit down on your mountaintop, sit in your own seat, breathe deeply, as Angela said before, and think about what are the issue or issues, not too many, that I most care about, that I most want to find the people who are working on those issues so I don't do it alone. And recognize that each step you take is something that you must do justly, because it will move us all toward a more just and equitable world. Sheila Katz. So if you've been around a while, and even if you haven't been around a while, you probably knew someplace in the pantheon of organizations with alphabetical names was the National Council of Jewish Women. And in fact, I just verified with Sheila, it's been around, it's even older than I am. It's been around 130 years. And it's been a distinguished organization. But in its panoply of histories, it came at a time, as we all can sort of imagine, where people weren't, well, I shouldn't say people, I would say where men weren't quite sure what to do with women. So they parked them in some organization or some other organizations or some other divisions and kind of said, I don't know, do what you want. And during those 130 years, NCJW did extraordinary work and moved issues of social change. But then it has had a couple of opportunities in its last decade or two to rethink, what does the world look like now? Why are women still too often in too many places shunned aside? Why are the issues that matter the most to women in this world not given the attention that they deserve? And what the organization needed was somebody who could come in with a huge sense of where the people of her generation are. Not everybody knows who their generation is or where their generation is, but Sheila, when I first met her, was doing amazing work for Hillel, finding out what was on the minds of young people, but not only finding out what was on their minds, suggesting that they think more deeply, suggesting, as she did, that they ask big questions and figure out how they could make a change in the world. And then she came to NCJW at a moment at which what was needed was somebody who could recognize and respect that history, but build on it. Think about how that organization, 130-year-old organization, could have new meaning for our time. And in every possible way, Sheila Katz is present, passionate, and visible. She knows where and when to stand. She knows how to address a crowd, whether the demonstrators today in Israel or the people in the halls of our Congress, who need a lot of reminding. She knows how to identify and work on issues from an interfaith perspective, which is critical for all of us. We are not going to win these justice issues alone. We have to make common cause with all kinds of other people fighting for justice, some of whom we don't agree with on every issue, just like most of us don't agree with everybody we know on every issue. But we need to be there and visible, and Sheila, heading a national Jewish organization, will put us there on every issue. But what we salute her for particularly, what I salute her for particularly tonight, is her leap ahead, recognizing that reproductive rights were not protected, were not secure, and were under attack, so that she was ready when the Supreme Court moved to take away rights from more than half of the population of the United States. And Sheila was there, has spoken out, has not left all of the other issues of poverty, hunger, fighting for democracy in Israel aside, but has continued in these last really difficult months to say, the first issue has to be respecting women, respecting our bodies, and respecting our rights. Sheila Katz is our century's example of a leader for justice, and it's my privilege to introduce her.